Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit's January keeps rolling in a win over the Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Scotty, first of all, happy Monday, and a happy Monday that it is. Well, actually, maybe not.
We don't know.
For the NFC title game. We're talking in terms of Red Wings hockey. We don't know how the NFC title game is going yet because we're recording this at 1:30 so that we can enjoy the NFC title game later in the day.
Yeah, no, that'll determine a lot of my Monday mood, but certainly another fantastic weekend for the Wings. The boys are hot, man. They're rolling, and obviously it's really fun just to have a team here go on a hot streak and whatnot. But again, I know I say it like 7 times an episode, but I cannot reiterate how tough this schedule this January is for them, and they have just completely stepped up to the occasion and are beating really teams consistently night in and night out.
Yeah, so they're 9-2-1 in January now, just absolutely rolling. They've gained 19 points this month alone, helping to right the ship after an abysmal December. You know, you think too, Scotty, if they had just an average December, where they would be in the standings. I know it's bad. You shouldn't do that to yourself. Go back and look at what if they had done this or that. Because what happened is what happened, and they're playing really good hockey now. But just if they had a decent December, they'd be in, obviously they're in the mix for the 3rd seed, but you're talking maybe in the mix for the 2nd seed in the Atlantic Division. But It is what it is. And that's another thing that's crazy too. Like, before we even get into the game itself, we've been talking so much about how good the Red Wings have been in December here, or January rather. The teams you're chasing have had excellent Januaries as well. Red Wings have gotten 19 points this month. Boston, Tampa Bay, and the Panthers have all gotten 20 points this month. Toronto's gotten 17. So we talk about how big it is to getting back into the playoff hunt, but it's also just so massive to keeping pace with the other Atlantic Division teams because they're all rolling this month too. So this win over the Golden Knights, huge for the Detroit Red Wings on so many different levels.
Yeah, man. I think the one that really jumps out at you just because they are, I guess, the closest in proximity is the Leafs. Lately have there was one point where the Wings were just ahead of the Leafs, and it feels like every game, if the Wings have an off day and the Leafs play, that they retake the lead, and then if it's vice versa, we retake it. It's like they're either tied or 1 point apart pretty consistently. And I think the Wings have a couple games in hand of the Leafs too on top of that. But just all of this top 4 in this division, and we've been deeming this the best division in hockey for
I think it is without a doubt right now.
A couple of seasons now, and I think that this year is pretty clear evidence of that. Even despite a couple of teams maybe not doing as well as we may have thought over the summer. But this is 5 legit teams deep. If Buffalo can go on a little bit of a heater, they're right in the mix too. So
yeah, and I mean, Buffalo's 7? I think they're 9 points behind the Red Wings for the second wild.
They are now 9 points behind in the division, at least 9 points behind 5th, which is us currently. So yeah. So there's a little bit of a gap forming there, and I know for sure.
I think I read Ottawa, since firing their head coach, has their league worst 4 goals against average.
They're 10 points worse than the Habs, and we said the Habs getting 8th was the biggest guarantee in hockey.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Yeah,
but we're looking ahead, not behind, right? With this Detroit Red Wings team, and you talk about how instrumental. We talk about how good this January is, and how how important it was for the Red Wings, not just to then get back in the wild card race and even get some separation in the wild card race as well. I think they're 5 points ahead of the next wild card team in the standings right now, but also just to keep pace with division teams. Those wins over the Leafs, Lightning, and Panthers this month are huge. Like we talk about it, those in division games, they feel like more than just a 2-point swing. They're almost like a 4-point swing because you're preventing them from getting the 2 points. Well, you get the 2 points. You don't win those games. Like now there's a 4 or 5 point gap between you and that 3rd seed or that 1 seed in the wild card. So a great January to keep pace, but also big divisional wins. This month has had everything, and there's still 1 game left.
For sure, yeah, and that's I think it's important, when you're looking in terms of the wild card race. Obviously, you want to beat teams that are in the wild card race in the East, right? Fairly obvious statement, I guess, but it's this division is so good that when you beat teams in your own division, you are beating teams in the East and teams that, like, again, when you beat the Leafs, you're beating a team that's right ahead of you and kind of neck and neck with you in that wild card race. Yeah, it's the Leafs at 58, us at 57, and then Islanders, Penguins, Devils, Capitals 52, 51, 51, 51. So you have created a little bit of a gap is forming there between the second wild card spot and the not seed, but the 3rd team in the wild card. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Without further ado, we should probably get into things. That was kind of just a random riffing. We didn't really plan that. But first and foremost, before we get into the game, Michael Rasmussen stick giveaway. Still running this until the end of the day Friday. Again, busted blade. Let me see if I can angle it so you can really see. It's
you can see it there, yeah.
Pulling away right here before I give myself another splinter. And so don't use it if you win. But to win, you want to go to our YouTube page, go to the community tab. The most recent community post will have the directions. You just subscribe, you comment, subscribe, you fill out the Google form. And then on Monday, we will announce, Monday the 4th, I believe it is, we are going to announce the giveaway winner of Monday the 5th, rather. We're going to announce the giveaway winner. You have to be a U.S. resident and 18 years or older. If you want a Michael Rasmussen stick, just go find that community post on our YouTube page. Scotty, also, we'll lead off with just, I'll make quick. We won't belabor the point. We can save that for tomorrow. But Derek Malone said Ben Sherratt's not playing until after the All-Star game. Yeah. There's an opportunity that Kane could play on Wednesday. But at this point, I wouldn't doubt that with the team rolling. They just say rest and be 100% healthy for after the All-Star break. Philly Husso in his conditioning game, shut out in Grand Rapids. He's recalled. And then that's going to be our conversation tomorrow on Monday is or one of the conversations we'll have is what do you do with Husso with Lyon rolling? So he's been recalled from Grand Rapids. So he's back.
Yeah, it's a heck of a combo.
Yeah, absolutely. Without further ado, I said that like 2 minutes ago, but now for real, Scotty, Red Wings beat the Golden Knights, and that was one hell of a really good hockey game. What was the thing, I guess, that stood out to you first and foremost?
Oh, man. I guess pressure was one that really stood out to me. Wings pressure. We talk about it all the time, but just like consistently doing that from start to finish. There are games where it kind of falls apart and whatnot. And that's not to say, the Knights ended with 30 shots. That's not to say they didn't have their opportunities, but I think that the Wings had a really aggressive forecheck, I guess, but just really all around, not even specifically forechecking, just in general. I thought they played the puck really well and put a lot of pressure on the puck handler most of the game, which I thought worked out pretty darn well. It's hard not to point to goaltending yet again, as we have so many times during this hot stretch as well. So I guess those would be the big two. But anytime you put up 5 goals on one of the best teams in hockey, that's going to jump out of the page too.
Yeah, and obviously this is a Golden Knights team that's kind of been just middle of the pack in the last 10.
Yeah.
But, Stanley Cup defenders are champions that are defending their cup, and you expect this to be another really tough game. And I thought the Red Wings handled this game beautifully from start to finish. I thought the first 40 minutes especially, the middle period where there were no goals scored, I actually thought was the Red Wings' best period in this hockey game. But the first 40 overall was very good. And then in the third period, just Not that the Red Wings played bad, but that was just surviving the third period push, and then they tacked on a dagger late in the game to put it away. I thought it was a really impressive game, and it feels like as this month keeps rolling on, the wins become more and more impressive in regards to like them being complete hockey games. You go back to the beginning of this month, right? The 3-game win streak that started us off. Winning against the Sharks was a grind. The LA Kings, you won. You played a pretty good hockey game. Game against the Ducks, that was a grind. Like those were two of those 3 teams you think you should just put away, right? Easily. They didn't. So it was kind of like, all right, well, they're winning, but they're not playing the best hockey games in the world. Oilers, you got shelled. Alex Lyon dragged you to overtime. But then from there, like it really, Kings was a good game. Toronto was a really good game. Panthers was a tough one. Carolina, you lost. You got outplayed. Carolina did what they did. But Tampa Bay, you played really, really good again. Every consecutive game that they're winning, they're playing better and better hockey, and it feels like they're finding their identity and they're finding their groove. And I think I said this during an early win streak early on. I guess this can also be another conversation, is how sustainable is this that we can have on an off day. But as the month keeps rolling, they look more and more like the team that deserves to win in the games that they're winning. And I think they deserve to win this game with how they performed in it. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and this brand and this identity that they are forming or have begun to form is, I think, a much more sustainable product than that conversation we had early in the year when they were on a win streak and they had, a 40% shooting percentage. And it was like, all right, well, this is, this is not going to last the, all 82 games. This is because this is more you're getting really good goaltending, which I cannot stress enough.
I mean, that's number one, right?
Right. But you're also really, really starting to find your identity defensively. And while it's not, you're not out of the woods yet. I'm not trying to say that this team has turned into some, fantastic defensive unit and that they are, going to be toward the top of the league in, defensive metrics by the end of the year or anything like that. But it's certainly a far, far cry from where it was earlier in the season. I think there's been a lot of midseason adjustments. And I think, for as much as people were skeptical during December about like, oh, Newsy, the system, is it working? I think credit where credit is due when you make in-season adjustments and have a month like this. I think he deserves a lot of credit.
Bang. Absolutely. 100% agree with you on that one. We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, there's a lot of, it's one of those games where individual players were working in the system for an overall great team game. So everything kind of married together, but we'll call out individual players as well in a positive sense in this one. So stay tuned for that in segments 2 and 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I looked directly into your eyes when I said that line, Scott. I knew you were waiting for it.
Not cash.
So, in terms of individual performances, right, we've kind of talked overall. The team played really well. In fact, so well that they had over 50% Corsi for percentage in this game. This was a game, even with a third period push where the Golden Knights really had a lot of scoring chances and a lot of shot attempts. This was a game where the Red Wings actually dominated 5-on-5 play. I'm in love. Like, it can't get any better than that. You play really good hockey at 5-on-5. You score a power play goal. You get it, like, complete team game. Awesome to see. But I don't want to backtrack. I want to move forward with this conversation. Scotty, when it comes to this hockey game, who do you start off with when you're handing flowers, as we say?
Yeah. Who to start off with is if it's like a ranking system is difficult. I
You
think
don't have to rank it.
I
You don't
think
have to rank it.
right. Yeah, I agree. I think Seider is a really easy one in this game. Couple of apples. Obviously was really solid defensively in this one. Really just the Walman Seider pair in general, I guess. I mean, that's 3 points between the two of them and good defense. I don't know if you can ask for too much more than that, man.
No, absolutely not. And it's not just offensively either, right? Like they were so stellar defensively. And the team as a whole defensively and the decor in this game, I don't like the Gostisbehere and Hull pairing, to be honest, because I don't think that their play styles mesh. I think if you're looking at any pair that maybe was a weak link in this game, it's them. But that's not to say they had a bad game either. I think all of the defensemen had really good games, and that includes the Petrie model line. But I want to lead with Seider and Walman because you bring up a good point. Walman with a rocket of a slap shot. Beautiful. And beautiful cycle from Perron. He cycles back to the point. It looks like he's just going towards the top, trying to find an opening for a pass down low. Instead, he drops to Walman, who just fires it home. That's a career high in goals for Jake Walman. 10 goals in his career. He is the 10th Red Wing to have 10 or more goals. And just for fun, I looked at the Atlantic Division teams the Detroit Red Wings are chasing down and seeing how many 10-plus goal scorers they have at this point in the season. None of them. I don't remember exactly who had what, but they all had 5 or 6 at best 10 goal scores. I know Toronto just had 5 because they are very top heavy. Steve Yzerman, credit to him, and I'll get back to Walman and Seider, I promise. But because my brain is here right now, Steve Yzerman knew in the offseason that this team got screwed in the draft. They didn't have a legitimate superstar. And I know some people are going to push back on me with that because some people believe Larkin is that superstar. I have him in like a number 1 center category, but not quite true superstar. This team does not have a superstar yet. A couple players could still develop. You could acquire one maybe through free agency, but they do not have a superstar. But Yzerman wanted this team to take a step forward into competitiveness. And so what did he do? He went out there, signed depth pieces that were going to make this team better to help have 4 full lines of scoring rather than try to rely on Larkin to score 35 goals and that be it, or DeBrincat to score 35 goals and that be it. Now you have Larkin and DeBrincat and guys in your third and fourth line who have 10-plus goals and Jake Walman who has 10-plus goals. Like the depth scoring acquisitions have been huge to propelling this team into competitiveness, and just full credit to Steve Yzerman for recognizing that. And like we were a little nervous, right, when it came to all these depth signings, like, how much cap are you doing? Like all these veterans, you're keeping down prospects. And I still have feelings about keeping prospects down in the minors, but it has a clear upside, right? This team's learning how to win right now. 4 full lines on offense that can contribute. And then just in general, I mean, having your young prospects, the future of this hockey team, learning how to play complete hockey together in the minors, and the Griffins are rolling right now as well, means that when they come up together, they're going to help keep that chemistry, help each other. It's right now when things are good, it looks like it's a master plan coming together. But back to Seider and Walman now, going back to them. Seider was making some key defensive plays as well. I mean, I noted down here a diving stop. At one point, he blocked a shot at the end of the game, and if he hadn't blocked that shot, Larkin wouldn't have gotten his empty net goal. He broke up a pass by going down to one knee. He was making stellar defensive plays all game. And he, in January himself, he and Walman have it's like a snowball effect. They've been getting better every single game. They've looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it's interesting because last year, January was when they got put together finally, right? So it's like it seems to be this consistent, once the new year turns, the two of them really kind of take off. Obviously, next year, we can talk about that. You'd like to see it earlier or whatever, but they've been fantastic. Walman is in the 98th percentile in like top shot speed on the season. Like it's just like he rockets, dude, absolute rockets. And that certainly, this game was a good example of that. Larkin, easy to kind of go to as well. Larkin had a fantastic game. What's his point streak even at now?
11.
Yeah. And a lot of those are goals lately.
And 200th career goal on that.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of those are goals lately as well. He has been absolutely fantastic. And to your point, they improved the depth scoring. I also think that keeps the pressure off of the top end guys, the Larkins of the world, to have to go out there and score, or else you lose every night. And I think that almost opens the door a little bit more for them, because their scoring is more spread out and all of the attention is not on one or two players. And I think that's why you're seeing Larkin, despite a lot of scoring from all across the lineup, his numbers haven't really wavered whatsoever.
No, he's got. Sorry.
No, that was the end of my thought.
He's got 46 points and I think 44 games played now. 2 goals in this one. I mean, he's continuing to distance himself. Actually, I think it's 46 points and 43 games played now. So he's continuing to kind of distance himself from that point per game. Now he's above a point per game, and he's been very good. And like you said, the depth scoring makes every single line a threat, which means you can't just focus all your attention on one line, which again was the intent. Sometimes there's going to be more pressure on the Larkin line, but that's going to free up the bottom 6. Okay, now Copp's line, third line, is scoring a ton, so you're going to put more pressure on them, freeing up the Larkin line. Yeah. We got to take another quick break. When we return, I mean, we still got to talk Lyon. We got to talk about just the depth. Again, more about the depth scoring. I want to talk Petrie and Mata, because they had a really good game too. Yeah. So there's just a lot of really good stuff in this hockey game, and not a lot that I didn't like, to be honest. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Hit the wrong button. We're leaving that in.
That was crazy.
FanDuel. Got to talk to you guys today about that. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Let's hope that the Detroit Lions are going to be one of those teams in there. You'll know by tomorrow if they're going to be in it or not. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl 50, who can win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points they will score, and so much more. New customers join today. You'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, I'm going to let you dictate where we go next here. There's so much to get to in this episode. We've talked about Seider and Walman. Then I went on to a kind of a tangent about depth scoring. We can wrap back around to defense or depth scoring. We can talk about Larkin or Lyon, whatever you want. Pick your favorite.
I kind of want to talk about Copp and that line again.
That's fair.
Just because we've been doing it for a while. Copp obviously with another goal in this one, but that line continues. I feel like that's just every single game recap the last 2 weeks. We've just come on here and been like, oh, that line continues to be incredible, and it's just not stopping, and it's awesome.
Yeah, they were great again in this one. And here's another thing too. Like, I believe, let me look here at my notes, if I'm recalling the correct goal, that goal wouldn't have happened without a fantastic play from Jeff Petrie on defense. Yeah. I just need to double check.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah. So obviously, this is what I'm thinking of. I'm getting them confused because it kind of happened the same way in the offensive zone, where it was a 3-on-2 and some good passing was happening. It was the Christian Fischer snow. It would not have happened without the Christian Fischer snowing the goalie.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And some great passing between Rasmussen and Copp, and he fires it home for his 201st goal. The Jeff Petrie thing that I was thinking about was he prevented a zone entry by just simply shoving the forward down onto the ice, forcing a turnover, and that allowed Larkin, Raymond, and DeBrincat come back down the other way and score an easy goal. And so both those
about the fish.
And that's a smart play. Like, and Ken Daniels brought up a good point, right? Like, you could call that unsportsmanlike conduct, but they didn't, and it's such a smart. They didn't. And like it clearly impaired Thompson's ability to make the save, because now you're like closing your eyes, you're squinting, and while Andrew Copp's just firing that thing home. So it's such a play you don't see players make, and it's such a dog play, as I would call it here, just a dog play from Christian Fischer, just to absolutely snow the goalie. It was great, and that line just continues to roll. Andrew Copp continues to roll as well. But back to that top line with Jeff Petrie's play. I mean, he had some pivotal plays in this game. this might be Jeff Petrie's best game as a Detroit Red Wing. And Ole Mata, there's been a lot asked for him as they were trying to figure out what the defensive pairs are going to look like without Ben Sherratt, because Ben Sherratt has been, and I'll say it, has been a key piece of this defense this season. He's had a really good bounce back year. He still does Ben Sherratt stuff that drives me nuts sometimes, but Ben Sherratt has been what, the third best defenseman on this team behind Seider and Walman. Like, he has been key to the success of this hockey team, but he's been out. So Ole Mata's had to step in and fill a role, eating a lot of minutes. He had 18 minutes at 5-on-5 hockey in this game. That's a lot of minutes for somebody like Ole Mata, who's been playing third pair minutes and sheltered minutes at that. Not a lot of tough matchups. And yeah, they're still catering the matchups a little bit because they understand with Ben Sherratt out, you can't just give Ole Mata that competition. But he stepped into the role in this game in particular. Those two looked really good together. I don't know if it's a one-off or maybe they're finding chemistry. We'll see. There's one more game left to play before the All-Star break. But I got to give credit where credit's due. Jeff Petrie and Ole Mata looked really good in this game as well.
Yeah, man. And this is a conversation that we started having like last summer when we acquired Petrie and they were 7 deep. And it was like, okay, like we don't even know who's consistently going to be, you know, the scratch on a night-to-night basis. And this is why. Like that is why, right? If you have a big long-term injury where somebody's out for months, then you have the Edvinsson conversation. But if you're on, you know, like just like nicks that happen and whatever, you're going to miss 3 or 4 games. You don't want to call Edvinsson up to play, you know, 8 to 12 minutes for 2 games and then send him right back down. So this is why you do that. This is why you had that depth in place the entire season. You're seeing the fruits of the labor. Like this is why. And yeah, I think they played an exceptional game. And to your point, I do think that there's a really legit argument that that's Petrie's best game as a Detroit Red Wing.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with you on that one at all. I mean, I have some thoughts that obviously you don't know Ben Sherratt. He's day to day. You don't know when he's going to come back. But in hindsight, you do wonder if they had known, and they couldn't have known, but if they could have known, would they have called Edvinsson up or Albert Johansson up, who have been playing great for Grand Rapids, and obviously not sat them in the press box? I'm making this claim based on an assumption that they would have played. But if they would have known Sherratt was out, would they, instead of sending Brogan Rafferty and Wyatt Newpower back and forth, called one of those two guys up and given them more consistent minutes? Because as important as getting 20 minutes a night at the AHL level is, you do have to wonder at a certain point, is it detrimental to their development in that they become so comfortable at that level, they develop bad habits because they're playing so well? I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I have not watched that much Griffins hockey. I don't know how Seider and Albert Johansson have looked.
You should go see what Edvinsson did on Saturday night.
I did see how he bullied that Belleville Senators player. But at some point, you do wonder if maybe 11 to 12 minutes for a week and a half straight with their Detroit Red Wings maybe is better for his development than 20 minutes at the AHL level where he just dominates, right? But I'm making a bunch of assumptions. I don't know. There's also something to be said about not messing with what's working, because you bring up a young rookie who will make mistakes to a team that's playing super good. Like, how does that affect the chemistry the team has? Ultimately, I think this is probably still the right decision because the team's just gelling so well that you wouldn't want to just slide Edvinsson in there and see how it goes. Like, he could not saying he's like a bad player, but just because he could, you know, cause that chemistry to break apart. These are just thoughts that I've had. I'm literally just thinking out loud of thoughts that I've had. But regardless, the end result has been phenomenal, right? I mean, 9-2-1 in December. And I go back to my rant from the win the other day. None of this is possible without Alex Lyon.
Nope, it's not. Alex Lyon, again, we'll have a kind of a more in-depth conversation tomorrow about how goalie looks with Husso coming back. But Alex Lyon, man, it has been obviously absolutely fantastic. This was another really solid game. And I feel like they have really found, they have gelled to a point where the defense knows their assignment and knows how to put him in decent positions. Does that mean that they're not giving up a high number of shots? No. But again, we've talked about it a lot. They've had a lot of games where the quantity of shots has been pretty high, but the quality hasn't necessarily. And I feel like that's been a pretty consistent thing in the month of January. Like, okay, we know that if Lyon faces 30 to 40, he has the ability to come out on the other side relatively unscathed if you just prevent the high danger, right? He can save the low and medium danger stuff consistently at this point. And I feel like both of those units, the defense in front of him and obviously Lyon himself, have really just found this this nice little, I don't know, they've harmonized. They found this nice little balance between, like, we're going to allow shots and you're going to have to, get sweaty and do work, but we're going to prevent the high danger at least for you. And it's been a really, really good partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about this? While you were talking, I just searched this up. I'll probably make a nice little graphic, an updated graphic for you later in the week. But Alex Lyon, among goalies who have had 1,000 minutes or more played, he is third in the NHL in save percentage.
Yeah.
He is behind just Jeremy Swayman and Connor Hellebuck, who have a 925 and 924 save percentage respectively in the NHL. Alex Lyon is a top 3 goalie in the NHL right now.
It's crazy. It's dope.
I mean, we're going to have a conversation tomorrow about how Ville Husso changes things, but I'm starting to wonder if the conversation even needs to be had.
No, yeah, fair point.
It's more about what the role of Ville Husso will be rather than who's the starter.
Correct.
So, I mean, Scotty, we've said everything the last week and a half about Alex Lyon that needs to be said. You kind of just summed it up there in your last, statement. He's him. He's 20 games in now. I'm going to say it. This is no longer a hot streak. This is him.
Okay, well, when he starts struggling, we know who to blame. But yeah.
Oh, shut up. Don't do that to me right at the end where the vibes are good.
It was a joke. Calm down.
Right.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, though, there. I'll put my name next to it, too, so you're not alone.
Cool. As far as it goes, I mean, man, I think we covered just about everything. We've popped all the. I mean, if you want to talk about the goals against real quick, they're both redirections in some semblance. The shot from the point by Martinez was deflected. The Barbashev goal was a redirection for a rebound. Barbashev, I don't know how he managed to swipe that with one hand, but both those were redirection goals in the end. So it's you can't blame Alex Lyon on either of those. In fact, he had over a 1.0 goal saved above expected. So he was really good for the Red Wings. It was a tight game. Red Wings, I thought, were the better team through the first 40 minutes. Blah, blah, blah. We're just wrapping up what we said. A great game for the Detroit Red Wings.
Fantastic.
So any final thoughts, man?
I don't think so, man. We ball.
Okay. Same time, same place. Your team. I'm going to play the outro at the right time now. Every day.
Every day.